Hey, 2 coffees? Even someone with low education can make coffee, right? That's what Sebastian said, laughing as he looked at me. Today was the day Sebastian, an elite who graduated from a prestigious university and works at a big company, brought his fiancée over. Yet he deliberately orders me to make coffee as if he only sees me as a housekeeper. The man who's to be my brother-in-law playfully mocks his sister-in-law, and his fiancée says nothing. No, it's more like she can't say anything because, sitting next to Sebastian, his fiancée is a beautiful Asian woman with black hair and black eyes. Unable to understand English, she waits for Sebastian's translation, and I give her a kind smile. I'm Karen. Currently, I'm a 28-year-old part-time housewife. I graduated from a local public high school and immediately got a job as an office worker at a construction company, where I worked for nearly 10 years before marrying Ash, 2 years my senior, whom I met there and then retired. He's often mistaken for being intimidating due to his large build, but he's actually a very gentle person. Working in a place dominated by men, I, as one of the few female employees, sometimes faced cold attitudes from superiors. The company's president was like a personification of old-fashioned thinking, which perhaps naturally influenced the company culture. I managed to continue working until I got married, supported by Ash, who was my direct supervisor. Saved by his kind nature in both work and personal life, I gradually became attracted to him and confessed my feelings, leading to our relationship. Both of us being reserved, we nurtured our love smoothly without major conflict. I was enveloped in happiness thinking I could marry Ash after the family meeting, but then an incident occurred. Ash's family consists of his mother, Bridget, and his older brother, Sebastian, who's 2 years his senior. Ash's father passed away when he was still in elementary school. Bridget works from morning till night every day to raise her growing sons. The first time I met her, the number of wrinkles uncharacteristic for her age spoke of her hardships. When I decided to marry Ash, he asked me to live with Bridget at her house. Having met Bridget several times before, I happily agreed. Bridget, saying she always wanted a daughter, treated me very affectionately. On the day of the family meeting, as soon as I arrived, Bridget took the lead in hospitality, showing her wonderful attention to detail. Ash is a bit shy, so I was worried, but seeing him bring home such a wonderful girl, you never know how life will turn out, Bridget said, with Ash telling her to stop and blushing a little. It seemed they had a good parent-child relationship, so I wasn't worried about living with Bridget. However, the problem was Sebastian, the other person I'd be living with. He looked like Ash, but his personality was the complete opposite. When I introduced myself as Ash's fiancé, Sebastian unabashedly looked me up and down without any restraint. I was already feeling uncomfortable at this point, but what Sebastian said next was shocking. Typical of a low-educated woman looking so plain. Hearing this almost sexual, harassment-like comment from someone I just met, I felt humiliated, and anger welled up inside me. Amused by my flushed face, Sebastian looked at me with a sleazy smile. Just as I braced myself for more comments, Ash and Bridget, who had gone to the kitchen, returned with coffee and cookies. Ash sat next to me with Bridget, and Sebastian faced us across the table. While Bridget and I were talking, Sebastian kept interrupting. Karen, you went to that high school? Hate to say it, but isn't it the one with the lowest college progression rate around here? Why'd you go there? Didn't think about your future? In this day and age, women without an education aren't in much demand, but it's good Ash doesn't seem to mind. I'd pass, though. Talking to a dummy might make me dumb, too. My lack of higher education was more because I wanted to get a job early to ease the burden on my parents than disliking studies. Fortunately, the school I attended was a business academy, so I was blessed with qualifications and employment opportunities, allowing me to choose my current company from a wider range of options than most high school graduates. I was working hard to save money for my much younger brother, along with sending money to my parents. Ever since he was little, my brother had wanted to be a school teacher, which required going to university. Moreover, Ash had been by my side for years, seeing who I am inside. Even if I had been less educated or even a school dropout, he would not have treated me differently. Still, why does Sebastian insist on valuing education so highly and looking down on me? I heard Sebastian works for a major company with overseas dealings. Bridget, who raised them by herself, said he studied hard, achieved excellent grades, earned a scholarship. and went to university. Since graduating from a state university in Los Angeles and joining his current company, he's been sending a significant amount of money home every month for 10 years. When I later talked to Ash about this, I thought it was impressive, but I couldn't forget Sebastian's snide attitude. I guess he became bitter because he dedicated his bright youth entirely to studying. Thinking this way made me feel a little bit better. Sebastian, knowing I couldn't respond as Ash's wife, gradually started to act more arrogantly. Karen, if you're just going to sit there, maybe you could clean up the entrance. You know, Mom's back is bad, right? The sweets you always buy are too sugary. You're not young anymore. You should choose something more age-appropriate. Instead of me, Bridget would step in to stop him, but Sebastian wouldn't always listen to Bridget's words. In fact, he would lecture Bridget, saying it's not good to spoil me. It's true that Bridget's back isn't in good shape, and I hadn't given much thought to the selection of sweets. When I agreed with Sebastian's points, Bridget always apologized later. I'm sorry, my dear. He just can't speak gently, but he praises you when you're not around. He's just not honest, so forgive him. But if something really bothers you, please tell me right away. I see. He praises me in front of Bridget, probably to indirectly keep her from intervening. With his pride in his education, he seems quick-witted in such matters. Since then, I've been relentlessly put to work by Sebastian, almost like a housekeeper. Sebastian treats me like a housekeeper only when we're alone, and limits his nagging when Bridget and others are around. When he occasionally does it, Bridget or Ash would defend me, so I didn't worry too much. But every time Sebastian saw me, he would say, Karen, why don't you take the initiative in doing housework and urge me to take over Bridget's chores? I can still move around, so Karen, please relax. We're not living together just so you can do housework. Relax and enjoy your time here with Bridget and Ash. Saying this, Sebastian was quiet when they were around, but perhaps as revenge when the two went out for shopping or errands, Sebastian started dumping even his own room cleaning on me. Anger welled up in me, wondering why I had to do this just because Sebastian said so. But I didn't want to spoil my good relationship with Bridget because of him, so I decided to endure a little. Sebastian, as if venting his daily frustrations, would berate me as a failed housekeeper and take his stress out on me. I too grew tired of dealing with Sebastian properly, so I just brushed him off and continued to ignore him. One day, Sebastian told me he wanted to introduce his fiancée to us. Honestly, I couldn't care less, but I thought this might stop the harassment towards me, so I felt a bit relieved. Generally, I'm busy with work and house chores on weekdays, so when Sebastian told Ash and me to take time off for this, it felt ominous. My hunch was right, and Sebastian proudly introduced us to his fiancée. She was an astonishingly beautiful Asian woman, like someone straight out of a magazine. Her name was Mina, 3 years younger than me, but seemed very mature and composed. She met Sebastian through work. Apparently, it turns out his claim of working at a major corporation wasn't just for show. At such a renowned company, it's not unusual to have beautiful women like her. What surprised me was that Sebastian could speak a decent amount of Chinese. I was amazed that he, barely able to handle English with people, had the words to charm an Asian beauty. Mina was polite and kind. She could speak simple English, so I enjoyed talking with her. Then Sebastian interrupted again. Mina, this is my brother's wife. I often take care of her, but we're not getting along right now. She's become bitter because she believes her education is inferior to mine. Can you handle her maturely? But I doubt you'll have to deal with her as much in the future. Bridget and Ash looked surprised as Sebastian spoke, but I barely managed to catch his insults. Sebastian's childishness, indirectly telling Mina that I wasn't worth associating with, made me angry. But I didn't want to upset Mina by responding poorly. So I stayed quiet then, taking advantage of Mina's incomplete English comprehension. Karen tried greeting in Chinese. You're my sister-in-law, after all. Show us something good, despite your low education, Sebastian said to me. Ash and Bridget were angered by this and told him to retract his statement. But seeing this as a challenge from Sebastian, I stopped Ash and the others. Ignoring Sebastian's mocking look, I began speaking to Mina in Chinese. Mina, surprised by my Chinese, responded with a happy expression. Sebastian was taken aback by her reaction, looking pathetic and speechless. However, as Mina listened to me, her expression grew stern. And she started glaring at Sebastian, who panicked. What are you saying? Are you talking bad about me? No, not at all. I was just sharing what I know about you, Sebastian. What? Even after our conversation ended, Mina kept glaring at Sebastian. When he tried to calm her down with a hand gesture, she forcefully brushed it off. She seemed really angry. Hey, Karen, you can speak Chinese, Ash said, looking surprised next to me. I explained that I had once worked part-time as a guide for foreign tourists. When I had just started my job, the income was low, so I secretly took on this work through a friend's introduction to help with living expenses. The company implemented a no-side jobs policy right after the tourist season ended, so it's understandable that Ash didn't know. Who would have thought that experience would come in handy here? Hey, the words you use, they weren't proper, were they? Sebastian suddenly blurted out something nonsensical, so I reluctantly decided to respond. Why do you think they were improper? Because you're using non-existent words. Don't confuse Mina with your nonsense, Sebastian. If Mina was confused, our conversation wouldn't have been successful. I chose words that she would commonly use, and it seemed to work. Sebastian probably referred to the slang or abbreviated terms as non-existent. The Chinese he usually uses is a more rigid version of what's used in the business world, not common in everyday conversation. It must have been unfamiliar to him. But to say they don't exist? Could it be Sebastian had always been speaking to Mina in a business-like tone? When I looked at Mina thinking this, she just smiled awkwardly and shrugged. However, her expression quickly turned to anger, and she started glaring at Sebastian. Sebastian, perhaps feeling the pressure, clicked his tongue at me, his face turning red. He crossed his arms in a clearly angered manner, looking down on me. What did you tell Mina anyway? Oh, I just told her that you have a main girlfriend besides her and she's being used as a mistress. What? Sebastian's face turned pale as he started to panic. I accidentally found proof of Sebastian's affair when I was ordered to clean his room. While organizing his messy self-help books and work files on the bookshelf, I found an album that seemed handmade by a woman with pictures of the two together. Although I hated Sebastian, I thought it wasn't right to pry into someone's private life. But since he ordered me to clean his room, it was inevitable. More importantly, the album's cover prominently displayed a photo of the two kissing in what seemed like a Ferris wheel, suggesting he had no intention of hiding it. The woman in the photo definitely didn't have black hair like Mina, and was likely American. From the numerous similar albums that strongly expressed self-importance, it was clear that Sebastian's relationship with his girlfriend had been a long one. Despite having a close girlfriend, it was a mystery why he chose someone as wonderful as Mina for an affair. But he probably wanted to be admired for having an Asian beauty as his fiancée. He wouldn't have been exposed if it were only in front of Bridget and Ash, but it was a mistake to even summon me, whom he despised. Thanks to my detailed explanation of Sebastian's rotten character, including that he already had a girlfriend, Mina was likely just a decorative fiancée, and Sebastian was a sinister person who bullied his sister-in-law in secret. Mina stood up and furiously confronted Sebastian. Her intimidating presence frightened Sebastian, but it seemed he didn't quite understand Mina's fluent Chinese. Panicked by the exposure of his affair, Sebastian pathetically clung to Mina, but she brushed off his hand and left. After Mina left, Sebastian grabbed me by the collar. "How dare you? Did you enjoy your little revenge?" he shouted. But Ash and the others wouldn't stand by silently, and Sebastian was quickly restrained. "No matter what high status you think you have, you've gone too far in belittling women. You're no longer my son. Even if your family, insulting Karen in front of others, is insane. Despite everything said, you've treated Karen like a housekeeper in secret. I'll never forgive this." Usually calm, Bridget and Ash were shouting, and Bridget even started to cry. Sebastian, seemingly hurt by these words, slumped his shoulders. Then he was led away by Bridget and Ash, and eventually kicked out of the house. After the storm had passed and the house quieted down, Bridget apologized to me. Seeing Bridget's sad expression, I couldn't say anything more. But then Bridget sighed deeply and said, "Let's stop living together for a while. As this is the parents' house, we don't know when Sebastian might come back. And after this incident, he might be holding a grudge against Karen, which is dangerous." She then covered her face with both hands. As Bridget predicted, Sebastian started to ambush me. shouting and trying to force his way into the house. Consulting the police didn't help much. They said it was natural for a family member who was suddenly kicked out to try to return. Ash and I had to quickly look for a new place and hardly packed up and left the house. Months later, when our life started to settle down, I received a call from Bridget. It was about Sebastian's behavior after that incident. Since Ash and I moved out in an escape-like manner, Sebastian, who stopped visiting Bridget's house, apparently fell into serious trouble. It turns out Mina was the daughter of the president of a major client of the company where Sebastian worked. Learning that his daughter had been two-timed by an ordinary employee, the president was furious and cut off all business with Sebastian's company. As a result, Sebastian was demoted to a regular employee, and the news of his affair spread within the company, leading to his main girlfriend breaking up with him. Exposed to curious and somewhat sympathetic glances and now being ordered around by former subordinates, Sebastian, with his prideful nature, couldn't bear it and resigned soon after. Leveraging his modest Chinese skills, he found a new job, but again faced conflict taking orders from employees nearly a decade younger, leading to his dismissal from there too. In just a few months, he repeated resignations and job changes for such reasons, and his arrogant attitude didn't help. Even at the job center, he insulted the staff with terrible words, making himself unwelcome. Eventually, struggling financially, Sebastian asked Bridget if he could return home, but she firmly refused. "I drove him away with a stick," Bridget exclaimed over the phone, making me laugh for a while. He waited outside Bridget's house but soon disappeared. Apparently, he exaggerated his education and career to appeal to women with financial stability and moved in with them, leading a parasitic lifestyle. Increasingly showing no intention to work, he lived off these women, often causing trouble by cheating when they were not around. Why someone as unattractive and terrible as Sebastian attracted women is a mystery, but he might appeal to a certain type. Ash, appalled by this episode, has apparently not been in contact with Sebastian. Pretending not to know might be for the best. On the other hand, thankfully, Mina took a liking to me, and we became friends. Due to work and home commitments, she's seldom in America, but we often have remote calls. Mina appreciated my Chinese language skills and said, "It's a waste for someone as conversational as you not to use it." She introduced me to interpreter jobs through her connections. I needed to restudy and relearn business Chinese, but as I always liked the language, it wasn't a burden. Now I'm enjoying my work, utilizing my strengths more than in my part-time job, and living fulfilling days in an unexpected way. Sebastian indirectly carved a new path in my life, so maybe in a way, I should be